Good afternoon, everybody. Just trying to get everyone's attention. I just want to welcome you to this track of Lux Tech and Entertaining with Style. I'm sure you've heard some overlapping if you were here this morning talking about how you bridge outdoor to the indoors and vice versa, and the bridge being that technology. So today I'm really excited to have this panel. I have Kevin, who works with It's a Layer Homes, yeah. Correct? And we have Gordon and Matt with Daisy, and they're integrators. So the perspective of how they implement and plan with your projects. And again, clients now are utilizing their home. It's just not a dwelling place, but their pride is in entertaining. And the wow factor when entertaining in a home with technology is a lot of people are saying like, wow, where are the speakers? They're like hidden and embedded in ceilings and in walls. Or, you know, look at these shades or whatever. Is it the lighting? In Boston, we had a home, and you know, this real sports enthusiast had the entire basement with linear lights, and when it was a Celtics game, it went green. When it was Red Sox, red. And you know, there's so many things of entertaining and implementing with technology, which can be flashy, fun, exciting, sophisticated. And I'm going to leave it to the panel to explain how they accomplish all of this. But I first want them just to go around and tell a little bit about yourself.
Perfect. Yeah, so Kevin Scott. I'm with A Layer Homes. I build in Florida, so Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, and also in Sarasota. Luxury home builder, renovator. Been in the industry since 2000.
Fantastic. Yeah. Love Sanibel. I hope they're doing okay.
Getting better, getting better. We can just get the hurricanes out of there.
Yeah, I know.
Matt Wallen. I own 2 branches. Daisy franchises, one in Orange County, California, and one in Palm Desert, California. I was apprenticed to this trade by my father through the 80s and still at it.
Very good. Gordon Van Zuyden, out of Los Gatos, Northern California. We're also a custom integrator. I started the company after a background in IT in the 80s and 90s. Started that company called Cybermanor in 1999. And we served essentially the custom integration needs for customers and builders in the San Francisco Bay Area for 25 years. Still do. But on February 26th of this year, our company was fully acquired by Daisy. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that and what that means and what it means to the builder community. And so for the last 7-8 months, we operate under the Daisy brand, and it's been a wonderful ride so far. So looking forward to talking about that with everybody here.
Great. And just out of curiosity, how many here are builders? Okay. And integrators? A few of you? Great. Welcome. All right. Well, I'm going to start with Kevin. He has a project he wants to share. Oh, I got Daisy first. Sorry, about Daisy, if you want to pipe in.
Yep. So Daisy's a national integration brand. It was founded by Dion Pearson and Hagen Kapler, and they came from the home services, many home services brands, including Terminex and Mary May's Club Car. And they saw an opportunity in between sort of brands that they were building and came to me in July and August of last year, and explored what it was to engage in this trade, and saw a tremendous opportunity, and went out and researched some really intense research, and came to me and said, you guys are the furthest along in in sort of the model, the business model. We had been focused on building out a franchise model for the last 5 years prior, and I realized, wow, that's a whole different thing. So they came, it was a perfect pairing. Luckily, Hagen lives down the street from our location. So again, the primary goal of Daisy is to be a service and support organization around technology, this integration approach, really exploring innovations about how we can do this industry, do this business. But of course, we'll do technology contracting as well, and it's been a fantastic ride. Gordon and I have really been enjoying working together, and right now there's about 140 people engaged in it. The leadership teams has about 40 people on it. They did a great job at some slow funding to build out the brand, some patient funding, so it's allowing us to really lean into the idealism of building a fantastic approach towards doing integration.
Yeah,
Got anything else to offer?
I just add a couple quick words. Hagen, one of the co-founders, as you mentioned, really all ideas kind of start out with a need, a problem, and after 2 or 3 technology issues in her home, she just said, where's my tech guy? I've got somebody to clean the house, I have somebody to do the yard, I have somebody to kill the rats, and I have the most important thing in my house, which is my technology, and they keep coming and going, and they disappear, and I don't have somebody. So that frustration led to what Matt just described, and I would expect that a lot of builders in the room probably wonder after 2, 3, 4, 5 years sometimes of working with an integrator, you might ask the same question, where's the tech guy that I started with to keep these things up and running? And I think that's a pain point that we're trying to address.
We heard a little bit about, at the beginning, HTA was here. They accredit integrators because vetting them out, he had a questionnaire, what should a builder ask the client about technology? But I do feel there's one more piece of paper that needs to be added to that. And what are the questions a builder asking with an integrator? The important questions to ask so that you know what you're getting, whether they are accredited or how much do they know about lighting, how do they go about their training, how long have their technicians been working for them? You don't want somebody who's training. Are they an established firm? So I think there's a lot of value in that, and it's great because Daisy is accredited as well. So, but I'm going to have Kevin start us off. I know you did a little explaining what you do, but.
Perfect. So we're a luxury custom home builder. We're very client driven. So the perfect client for us is someone that comes in, has a piece of property, and not really in any plans or anything else. So we walk them through that planning phase, and just keep going into the project.
Yeah,
all right. So for this particular.
Sorry, I got everyone's introduction.
Yeah.
Here we go. That's me.
There you go.
All right. So this particular project, we finished this one about 2 years ago. It was about 8 months in planning, and then just under 2-year build. And this client had an idea of what they wanted for tech, for low voltage, and in full. To come clean, we were not putting an emphasis on tech, and this was 2 years ago. We were just kind of leaving up to the client, like, hey, what do you want in your house? What are you looking for? And if the client had a plan, great. And if not, we're not doing anything. Came to Tech Home last year and realized, wow, we're really behind the 8 ball. I need to find an integrator. I need to find these companies to really help us through. So now, currently, every project we meet with the architect, we meet with the interior designer, and we meet with an integrator early, right? Because sometimes the clients don't know. They don't know what they want. They want a smart home, and what does that mean, right? Mm-hmm. So this one, they were very clear. They big entertainers. This is their going to be their forever home. They wanted family to come and feel comfortable, and so this is just the kind of the basic specs. It's 7,000 square foot living, 16,000 total, and it's on Fort Myers Beach. This is their dream home. They had waited to build it, and we put a lot of effort. So it's a full Crestron system, all the way throughout. All lights, all shades, all shutters. Everything is controlled. We have this was their front door, and we have to be elevated on the beach, and so that mid-level is above flood, and they wanted their main living to be everything on their main floor. So the front steps come in, and then we had this is smart glass. Well, we took a slide out, I guess, but this front door is all glass, and we connected it to Crestron, so you hit the button, and then it turns obscure. So that was a neat feature for them, because that was all open, and they wanted a little privacy. We had to kind of figure out how to do that, and but yeah, so that's part of their system there. So this is their living room. Kind of just goes out to the porch there. So all the shades, you can't see the sliders, all the storm shutters, the shades for that, all the TVs, all through on the system there. Trying to think of what other highlights there. The bar, and for entertaining, they were big here. they wanted that porch. Yeah, so there's 4 different entertainment areas outside. All have speakers, all have lighting. They are all in different zones, and they wanted to be able to have the outside in, so the sliders go away, the floor is all flush, and then the pool is up here as well. We'll see that there through the back. But yeah, this was a wonderful project for us to really kind of highlight the tech, highlight the possibilities, and fortunately, the clients did what they wanted, and so it made it a little bit easier.
Yep.
Yeah, shades, same thing. And so we learned a lot about the shades at that point. Learned a lot about the automation that goes in with all of that. But yeah, that was a fun project.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate to ask who was the integrator?
So it was AVL Pros out of Fort Myers, Naples, that did this particular one.
Yeah.
It was good, learned a lot. We're currently working with Bravas on a couple projects now. So hopefully next year we'll be able to come back and say, hey, these are the ones we've done now. We had a little bit more forethought put into.
Nice.
There's some really nice lighting elements in there between the linear lights and the wine case being lit.
How did you deal with lighting design?
So they handled that. So they again, we didn't know, and so they asked the question. We talked to them, and we had the lighting design done on this one. It's the first one we did. Now it's a standard. We've done 4 or 5 cents, and same thing. If we're getting to that point, we're having them do the little layout for us, and helps on the electrician side, the whole thing.
And you saw the value in bringing them in early.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And do they work with the landscape architect or the docks and all the exterior lighting?
So I don't have any night pictures, but yeah, all of that. That's it with the shades down, the shutters down in the back. The pool's elevated, but yeah, it's all. There's 3. The pool pumps on it, the generators on it, all the lights, all the sound. I mean, it's the whole house is controlled there. All the locks are on it. They have an Amazon room, delivery room that the Amazon guy has. Yeah, so
And we all need one.
yeah. So yeah, that was it. And then they had their Michigan State logo in the pool
Well, that's a
there.
lot of fun.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Love it.
And those are fire bowls. Again, those are controlled through the system. So I mean, it's a really great entertainment space for sure.
What type of outdoor sound do they do? Do you remember?
So they did speakers in the flower beds around. So there's one here. There's one just under the kind of the roof line there. But they're all close to the house, but hidden in the in the flower beds.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's that one.
Thanks
really
for
cool.
sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Came out beautiful.
Did they provide the drawings?
So this is the current one that we're working on. When I was trying to figure out what all we needed to talk about today, but this is one from that Bravas is helping us with. So this is one under construction. So all we have are the plans and kind of layout. It's a spec home. So we wanted to do kind of some enough in there to make everyone still have that wow factor, but then be able to add on to it if the client comes in and wants some more.
This may be kind of an obvious question, but when it comes to spec homes, you're talking about this being a spec home. How involved do you engage? To how far do you take the technology opposed to just an infrastructure to support an end user, then actually then going back to Bravas and buying more?
Yeah. So on this particular one, this is the first one we've done. It's with a past client of ours. We had the hurricanes, and so there's a lot of land that became available. So he's got some opportunities. So we had that conversation with Bravas, right? Because again, I don't know how far to take that. So using kind of leaning on them, what areas do we need to focus on, what can we do, and we wanted to be able to add on because that end user may want more. So we didn't do any guest bedrooms. We did just kind of the main living, the master, lights outside, all the wireless access points, security. But then the end user will be able to come in and Bravas will service it, but then they can come in and add to if possible. We kind of made it that way so that they can make it their own.
Yeah. Great. Cool. All right. Okay, a little bit more about Daisy here. Let's see, a little video. one of the benefits of funding. You get to do some videos. Overall, I don't know that technically what we do compared to what Kevin does is anything different. It's all the wonderful features of lighting and fixtures, motorized shades, security systems, audio-video solutions, home theaters, Wi-Fi networking, smart home controls. But I think a real key focus that we have, especially, both Gordon and I have experience centers, and there's a real focus on just the experience opposed to really talking about brands, and just initially showing clients what the options are around these fundamentals. And then, from there, we can make the best decision about brands and then more detailed choices. We found that when we start talking about brands, and then start talking about too many choices, it's an overwhelming experience for the end user to help to make those decisions. So really just showing them about lighting, showing them the benefit of kind of the three fundamentals around lighting, a lighting design, a control system, and then fixtures, and just then diving into showing them more about what a design looks like and some of the differences between what sort of a standard lighting design would be with like 4 cans in a room, and then showing them the 3 layers of light, around general lighting, accent lights, and task lighting, and be able to show them those 3 layers and then tie it all together and contrast between what no one would deny would be like 4 cans and a ceiling, that there's light in the room, but then showing them the compelling difference of what a lighting design along with the control system, how easy it was to push one button and bring in those 3 layers of light at certain levels, and then showing them the benefit of fixtures, everything from like just a warm dim fixture that as you lower the lights, it gets more warm, in the lower Kelvin, and then as you raise it, it gets into the higher Kelvin, more bright, even to the extremes of like what Ketra and their 16 million colors can do. So it's that kind of detail that we can start getting into with time as we develop a relationship and really understand what a client's looking for.
Just before you click through, just some perspective on this. So I were to look at this slide when we started in 1999 or 2000, I think you'd see all of the boxes that are shown here, except maybe the Wi-Fi and networking. So what's happened, because that's introduced into this slide, and you fast forward 25 years later, what is really changed in our environment, the builder environment, the homeowner's environment, is that now there are lines that interconnect all of these boxes. And what makes the excitement and the challenge of what we do is that each one of these things, the theaters, the audio, the video, the lighting, the shades, the security, the smart home controls, all are now connected, and they're connected to each other, and they're connected to the internet. And to maintain that environment on an ongoing basis for all the feature sets and enjoyment of what our customers expect from us is really the ultimate goal of what all of us try to do. And that's why today these technologies are more challenging than they were 25 years ago, because they would all stand alone before. And that's not true anymore.
I think all my fellow integrators can acknowledge that we perceive the network as the spinal cord that ties all of these systems together. If you do not have like an enterprise-grade network, frankly, these days, that we are empowered to administer, we're really not set up for success and reliability and the ability to maintain those systems. So, for the builders, please support us in being certain that we're engaging and able to implement a really substantial enterprise-grade network, so we can guarantee reliability and the ability to be responsive around servicing it. Does that make sense, my integrator friends? Yeah. Okay. Remember? So these are just some really interesting things. There's been, I grew up, with a pair of these old headphones with the coily cord, right? And old, big, huge walnut speakers that my dad made these boxes in. So the left and right stereo imaging of how records were made was a fantastic experience initially, but now that you're able to hear the benefit of what it is to have multiple speakers within a space, and kind of have that Disneyland effect where you're walking around, like outside as an example, and just wherever you are, you can hear the sound, and it's doesn't create these hot zones of like sound. As well as if you look at some of the opportunities of what Atmos music was, if you've ever heard an Atmos mix, they've remixed records into multiple channels opposed to left and right. It's now 13 or more channels of audio, and it's an incredible experience to sit there and listen to Elton John singing Rocket Man to you, and the next thing you know, you hear this like acoustic guitar over here, and then Rocket Man here like behind you, and people are looking around. It's an amazing immersive experience. So there's really some amazing features that when homeowners can hear that and experience it, it's a fantastic opportunity for us because we sell more speakers, but really it's an unparalleled and a new experience for most everybody now. So immersive sound.
I'll just add a couple words to that. And one of the more impressive things, our annual trade show is called CEDIA, and we just had that a few months ago. And it's basically a place for all the vendors to showcase the products in our space. And one of the more significant vendors in our space is a company called Sonance. I imagine a number of you probably have heard of them and have used them. And they've built their own experience center down in Southern California. And they've been in this business for, I don't know, 20, 25 years, 30 years. And after they built the experience center, what they learned from that was that even as thoughtful as they were about these point sources of sound through the ceiling and other places in the home, they realized that it required that much more to create this immersive sound effect. And that you really want to spread, kind of as this image shows, the sound as cleanly as you can throughout a room, so that you don't even hear the source, you just hear the music. And when it's that pervasive and that immersive, what they found out is you actually can lower the volume of the sound and get the same musical effect in a given room because it's so pervasive. And I think that speaks to what we really do when we do our job the best is it disappears, it's part of the environment, as Bravis likes to say, part of the experience. And I really think this sound is a huge part of it. And the architecture and placement and engineering of it is a huge part of making a successful installation out of these things.
Yeah, we've taken on sonances like how do you want to see your sound, and we have these experience centers. We'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute, but we're able to show people. Everyone would expect to see these 12-inch diameter gray things in the ceiling. Those are speakers, and then we'll play music and then just push a button. It'll switch to these discrete 3-inch openings that sound even better. It's a 3-inch or a 3-way driver up inside of a box that just ports out of a small opening, and then we'll push a button, and it goes to these invisible speakers, and I'll say touch the wall, and people are blown away. There's a price point opportunity for us too, from a sales point of view. It's more expensive for them to buy the invisibles and the infrastructure about that, probably even some construction costs to drywall over them and mud and tape them in. But when people understand that value and even what's possible, I think it would be, it would be unfortunate if we didn't have this discussion to show people how they could have this amazing sound, even better sound, but not even see the speakers, right? And I think I just love how technology is evolving. So, immersive sound. I don't know. You want to talk about this one? I don't know if I'm so prepared to talk about this one.
It's interesting to think about how people consume entertainment content these days. Everywhere from, I'm always amazed that my wife will sit there on the couch and watch a Netflix movie on her phone, which is a 4-inch phone, and right in front of her is a 75-inch screen. But it's just easier. She's just done her email. She sees a Netflix and she just watches it, all the way to dedicated home theaters, 150, 180-inch screens, 4K and 8K. And I guess, the net of what I think of visuals today that's part of understanding our client, what they're looking to do, what they're looking to do in a given room, for the kids, the husband, the wife. And it spans this range, and the beauty is that our content sources now can be delivered to all of these things, either through wire or wireless at super high resolutions. And so, gone are the days when we used to have these racks full of all these video sources of satellite TVs and DVD players and HD DVD players and so on and so forth. It really is now a streaming solution, and a streaming solution through Apple TV and Roku. When the network is designed well, you have these amazing experiences throughout the home. And you put the screen on that's appropriate, just not even inside the home, but more and more, certainly in California, I'm sure, as you say, in Florida, outside the home. And they have some incredible screen experiences that are weather-related, weatherproof, from major manufacturers that make that a really good experience. So this concept of consuming a tremendous variety of content on so many different mediums is things that we can deliver and showcase. And I think you do the best job you can for your client when you talk about Gone are the days when you just plop a TV, on a cabinet, and that's where you watch TV. That's all changed now. So
There's a lot you can do too with obstructing a view. So
Yep.
many times you have these beautiful ocean views, and
Yep.
they just don't want to put a screen anywhere over a fireplace. So there are a lot of creative ways. Like we had one client who had an island and had this beautiful view of Martha's Vineyard Sound, and the TV would come from under the island, come out. They could rotate it, and it would hide itself, and the view is beautiful and not obstructed. Some have used screen shades. I mean, there's ways of because they just don't want to see it.
I mean, to tag onto that, in our Experience Center showroom, I think I have a slide of it later, I think the advent of these ultra short throw projectors and short throw projection screens. Now, for the first time, instead of I'm looking at these lights blaring down on me, the concept of a projector here and a screen here, and you walk through and you interfere with the screen, or you see the lights, you basically can get 90, 120-inch screens, 4K screen sizes from a projector that's 12 inches in front of it through this laser technology. So you combine basically a projector 12 inches in front of a drop-down short throw screen, and you have a hidden projector, and the screen retracts, and by day it just looks like it's an open ceiling, open space, and by night with a universal remote, that drops, projector comes on, Apple TV sources, and you're watching a movie. So, but to do that, there's all the infrastructure wiring, all the planning, and all the thoughts and the carpentry to make that all happen. But that's the wow, that we try to create for our clients.
I think it's another point. I really appreciate that you bring us in early as a builder. There's so much opportunity for us to solve these problems and create a really unique experience for people, way more affordably than us having to go, hey man, can we open up this drywall now that we're here 3 months later?
Well, yeah, you're trying to do it efficient, right? Because we're trying to get this project through, and we're trying to I don't have a problem if we plan ahead, right? If I know that you need X, Y, Z, then we can put it in. The client can see it. The client knows what to expect from a price point. They've gone into for an experience center, they've seen all the highs and lows, and get a price, and then they get to put what they want in there versus you get done and they're like, I should have done this different, So you're trying to avoid that weird conversation at the end, right?
Yeah. So obviously theaters, I talked about this Atmos. There's new innovations around how audio is both mixed and delivered. So we've all seen the theaters. There's some other, we have a innovative way to do really a retrofit experience after the fact. Of course, with building new homes, this is the ideal opportunity. We have a surface mount ability with panels that mount over it, and we've proven that we can do a large theater in 8 days of walking into a room and painting it and mounting everything on the surface. Even the lights are 12 volt, low voltage lighting, so it doesn't have to be an electrical contractor to do these lights. And this acoustic panel system covers it with magnetic art that's acoustically transparent. It's a really compelling offering to kind of take advantage of rooms that maybe didn't have a plan initially for being a theater. How was the theater in that?
Didn't have one.
Okay.
Didn't want it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they had entertainment. So the main level is all upstairs. So that's the master and the living, and then they have kind of the lower level, which is right above flood, is where all their guests. So it's 3 identical rooms for all their guests to come, and then there's an entertainment space there. But they didn't want to put the money into a theater. They wanted everyone to be upstairs on that porch.
Cool. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I talked a little bit more about this earlier around sort of these fundamentals about a lighting design, a lighting control system, and fixtures. Obviously, a part of the whole story that we wind up telling in our experience centers is also you can control the sun with shades and blinds and drapery, of course. With Ketra lighting, you can actually bring in that quality of light and that color of light. You put your zip code into this programming software with Lutron, and Ketra follows the trajectory of the sun relative to where you are. So when you're at a lower Kelvin, a much more orange light outside, it's that inside. It really pulls in the light inside that. We talked about circadian rhythm, I think, right yesterday, right? So it's that. So. Anyways, I really think that you probably experienced it too. I mean, just the opportunity to deal with lighting, shading, and drapery. I mean, it's an essential forethought now, not just an afterthought, something that we can partner with a designer on around fabrics and colors and all of that. That doesn't have to be our jam, but helping them and that homeowner and the builder with that technology and getting it hidden, implemented, I think is a real vital thing.
Yeah, for us in our market, the interior designers always carry the shades, always. And time again, we'd run into, I didn't think about I need power or the shade pocket, and we're at the end of the project, they would put these shades in. So over the last few years, we started to take that back just for we want to plan it. We want to know what's going on. So we're having that discussion early as well, because we got to build a pocket or get wire to all those areas. Again, I don't want to be doing it, at the finish stage. I want to do it now when we're roughing everything in.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit more, that Disneyland effect with having multiple speakers approach outside wherever possible. Obviously now I got IP66 rated TVs and super bright TVs, lifts that will support coming up out of the ground. Who was it? I was in a prior one, he was doing $1 million TV. There's this bitchin' TV that pops up out of this column and opens up like this huge screen, and folds up and drops down.
There's a company in our space called Future Automation. They're based out of England, and I had the good fortune to visit and tour them a few months ago. And it's as amazing, the size and scope and variety of these motion-based TV mounts that they provide now. It's almost like if you can dream it, coming from the ceiling, coming from the floor, coming from the sides, it's available, whether it's in your home or your yacht or your plane or whatever. So that's where you can really add this incredible vision, I think, to the solution. It's not just putting a TV on an outside wall anymore. It's now, obviously there's an expense with it, but the technology and the engineering behind these very creative mobile TV solutions for the outside are out there, and people like ourselves, can help you with that.
And that's why I feel like the integrator is so essential in understanding these advanced type of opportunities to have screen time, from coming out of cement pool areas to the indoor kitchens, the temperature control, like it can be out, you don't have to take it out because of weather. It can sustain high heats, cold. So I sometimes think that the builder can only know so much, the architect can only know so much. It's the integrator who's up to speed on the latest and greatest.
I think it's the power too of like Bravas, Daisy, these larger companies. I mean, how many people you got, Chris? I heard you say like 300 at that thing, right? Yeah, so 350 people. You got 350 of the smartest dudes, like all tweaking out on this stuff, and so that ability to collaborate these days through teams and other things to really kind of, hey, did you hear about this? I mean, I learned a bunch of stuff being here, and that I'll take back, and I'm taking pictures of, taking pictures and forwarding it off to the team. Check this out, and that's a real power towards a larger team, because I think. I used to look at, like with my dad's era in the 80s, it was like I had a TV for 20 years, and this Fujitsu TVs would last for 7 years before the power supply blew up. And now we're looking at 9 months that these innovations occur, and every CD they all scramble to go make us promises of stuff that's not out yet, but that's coming. But it's just innovating so quickly that I think it's really important. I think it's a good responsibility that we should have to be aware, be informed, and be able to advocate for someone who's making a possibly $1 million investment to make a wise decision and just know what's possible.
What is possible, exactly.
Maybe because I'm one of the older guys in the room, I keep thinking back where things used to be, where they are now, and where they might be going. So probably a number of people in the room can recognize the universal remote control circa 2012, 13, 14, something like that on the left, versus the universal remote control that somebody puts in their hand today. This happens to be from Control 4, their Halo, that was introduced in the last year or so. And I put this on primarily because you see on the left side, when somebody sat on the sofa, really the AV experience, what this panel's about, was source selection, turning on the TV. You can see the various button designations that are on there. And so the audio-video experience pretty much from the palm of your hand was turn on TV, listen to sound, change channels. But because of what I mentioned earlier, now the shades are connected to the environment, the light's connected to the environment, the temperature's connected to the environment, And so now the experience of watching something, if it's enhanced because the shades are closed to prevent glare on the screen, or the skylight shades are closed for the same reason, and the lights are at the certain dimming level to enhance the experience, and even the temperature of the room is at a certain level to enhance the experience. Those are all now controls that are in the palm of your hand. So those additional touchscreen buttons, the ones you see on there, relate to lighting and shades, and you create scenes around that. So now the watch TV button, or even the watch TV words that you say to Alexa or to Josh or to Google, now invoke this rich experience which turns on the TV, which sets the temperature, which closes the blinds, which dims the lights, and gets you to the station and the content that you want. And I think, that evolution of entertainment from where we were 10, 15, 20 years ago to today is a dramatic shift, obviously, in what creates the best environment for audio video in the home. And it takes a lot of trades to do that well. And we don't proclaim to know all of those trades, but we do tend to know the things that we do best in the audio video space, shades and networking, and then we work closely with the architects, the builders, the people in this room to make that full experience come to life. And I think that, to me, in some respects, this is one of the more important slides from my perspective, because it just highlights this integration that we're providing to create these wonderful experiences for our clients.
Yeah.
And even
I think
from
even,
phone.
sorry, you go.
Yeah, but even implementing from your phone too. So if someone doesn't have the remote, it's still a handheld close to you. It was funny because on Halloween, my daughter was too old to trick or treat, so she's like, I want a horror film night. Okay, great. We're watching a movie and it's like ding dong, and the movie stops and it shows me who's at the front door. And like, this is so cool. I can see the trick-or-treaters, but like after the 18th doorbell ring, we're like, it's not so cool. And of course, I didn't know how to stop it. But it is amazing how it can pause in the movie for safety. I mean, Halloween, you get a lot of, it's rare people even ring your doorbell anymore, sadly. But yeah, so the experience is like, there's so many layers of unbelievable things that can happen through AV.
I think there's a fundamental difference between that remote that's on your right there. There's no channel numbers. It's a whole new era. We can put channel numbers on the display up top there if needed, but it really speaks to, you remember when there were channel numbers? You had to know the channel. So
the other,
totally different world now.
Obviously, the unique difference is we called it a television because it really displayed content that was used for entertainment. But the correct term really today is it's a monitor, because it can be used as often for viewing cameras on the front door as it is to looking at cover art, that just kind of cover art for music. I know a number of Samsung and their frame TVs, these wonderful TVs that kind of disappear or hide or camouflage, and so these incredible artistic scenes on them. So it creates a level of versatility in your AV space because we now have such rich content from so many different places, including the control functions of the house. So those are just all things to kind of think about in that design of these spaces. The White Daisy, I think Matt touched on it quite a bit. There, the emphasis in our industry typically has always been and has needed to be heavily on projects. That's really what supports the payroll, supports the rent, supports our staff. Not so much service. It's inevitable. We have to do that to maintain clients and get them a referral. But to take it the next step and not just be reactive, but proactive, as Matt mentioned, for our clients, and to really set up a recurring program of services so that we can delight our clients by our presence there on a quarterly or semi-annual basis, and not only be there to repair or proactively do things, but to even advise them. You talked about all these evolutionary things in technology, and actually be treated as kind of my support on-site guru, because I'm not the one that keeps track of all these things. That's what we do. And if we can do that on an ongoing basis, I think our clients will really be delighted to know that they have somebody who's their wing person for all the technology needs in their home.
I think
that's
too,
the aspiration.
If I didn't say it already, it's just become an organism. We install organisms now. They are not appliances like a VCR. My joke is always, your kid broke it with the Pop-Tart, but it's an organism now, and it, like your lawn and like your pool, it just takes maintenance to keep it going. I wish it wasn't that way, but Apple and the fact that it's processor driven and software driven, firmware and internet connected, it just changes and it evolves. It's just not a stable it's not as stable as it was, I should say, not to the level like an appliance is. There's no Maytag man in our industry hanging out just waiting for a call. It's pretty much inevitable that there's something to maintain. And the more that we can get in front of it with proactive maintenance, being more aware with the better relationships with manufacturers to understand changes that are coming before they come, updates that will break the system, the more that we're aware of that, we can be better prepared to give clients a more consistent, reliable experience.
Yeah, I kind of echo along those lines. In the grandest scheme of things, I think there's a lot of analogies frequently to Tesla and the car and what it represents. And I've heard the term that it's basically now become it's software on wheels. Obviously, as an engine, it does all the things that a car needs to do. We own a Tesla. Every day, every night, an upgrade is brought to that Tesla. And some of them are significant. And one of them that I recall recently is you click on the left turn signal, and gone are the days when you're just looking in your left turn mirror and seeing if there's a car in your blind spot. Because of the cameras around the perimeter of the car, you turn the left turn signal on, and there's actually camera footage of what's in that lane on your left-hand side. On whatever given Tuesday that wasn't there, the next Wednesday I woke up, that feature was there. And so I think what you're seeing in the home is it really is almost like a software platform on a foundation. Now, that's an extreme simplicity. Obviously, there's many parts of the home. But the reality is that the richness and the growth of people enjoying this dream house that they're building today, tomorrow, and for years to come is going to be enhanced through these software features when they work well. And we all know of problems when these software add-ons cause problems. And there again, that's why there's a necessity today as we move forward on these interconnected homes with all these multiple devices that somebody has somebody they can count on when things go sideways. And they are going to go sideways, but when they go correctly, they're magical. And to that end, we built, let's see if this will click on, here we go. This is the showroom home that we built behind our Cyberman office in Los Gatos to let people really feel and experience all these elements across the home firsthand. And I'll let you kind of watch it a little bit. So I want to stop here briefly on this slide because the vision and the outlook that we have is that we talk about, obviously, audio video is a core part of this session, but the intelligence in the home now has spread to almost every device that actually has a battery or can be plugged in. So whether it's at the entrance, the doorbell, the cameras, the irrigation, the skylights, the water heater, I'm not going to read them all, but you can see how many of these are. We're not the experts on all of these devices, but at the end of the day, we're the general practitioner of all things that connect to the network. So we have to work with these various trades, whether they're the garage door people or the pool people or the smart appliance people in the kitchen, because if they're Wi-Fi or wired connected, at some point, they're going to connect to the phone or their control panel, and we'll have responsibility for that. So this is really something that says, okay, when the floor plan's laid out, have you thought about all these different things we could do in your home? And even if we do them today, maybe we should be wiring for some of these feature sets so that you could do them in the future. So go ahead, roll the tape. Just the theater I was describing earlier. actually rent it on Airbnb during the times that we don't show it to
That's fantastic.
builders and trade partners. There's a story behind that. These are rental partners.
It's great.
Got some words. And so this smart home tour is available for people to come see. Obviously, the people in this room are exactly the people we would like to show it to. We happen to be in Northern California. Matt has a showroom as well down in Southern California. So that, I think today we're really more than ever at a point where people need to see, touch, feel, and get impressed by what all this technology can do. It's not about what we can do 5 or 10 years from now. These are things that are available, trusted, and proven today. So that's why we built it. We can try new products out there as well. And as this slide shows, these are our various addresses in Northern California and Southern California. And if Daisy continues to grow the way we are, we'll hopefully have a showroom near one of your locations around the United States. And that's a big part of our ambition. So with that, I think the next slide is just kind of, that's our contact information.
Yeah. I love the fact that you have that house and it's outfitted with everything. And I keep on saying, if the client goes and has that experience, they may be going in wanting to see one thing and don't even realize that, I want this type of lighting, that kind of aperture. I love that the speakers are hidden, or they see tower speakers, and then all of a sudden, we've had that experience. They hear that and like, we want a set of those too. So I think that whole experiential thing is so critical at the beginning, because when I did work for an integrator, the phone would ring and they're like, we want you to hang a TV, and it'd be crickets. Like, have you called Best Buy? Because unless you're working with somebody who is thinking about the system as a whole, you don't want that AV company who's just hanging TVs and putting speakers up. You want someone who understands all the logistics of a home, all the components, and what would work best for your client. So impressive with that house. I like it.
Well, you can rent it some.
Yeah, I might.
Actually, there's an Airbnb site. If you check Airbnb Los Gatos, and you look for something that has 1 or 2 people, and if you let me know by that email address that you're coming, I'll give you the builder discount. It's normally $225 a night, but I'll work out a deal.
That's great. Thank you. Do we have any questions today regarding this presentation? We have a few more minutes.
Hi, sorry. How much time and focus do you spend on pre-wiring future expansion and growth of these systems?
How much time do we spend focusing on the pre-wire? I think really we have some standards that we know are required, like fiber now is key. Fiber optic cable is a key thing to add. It's affordable now to add and to terminate. So I guess more it would be the time it takes to run some wires from a central point to an end point. It's the same, but now we'll just be certain that we add certain elements. Make sure it's like even now we're getting into Cat 7 and shielded cats for some distribution fiber. So I'd say it's more around being certain that we're future planning more around what type of wire would be. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Like mouse have everything figured out.
Yeah.
So, how do you get ahead of that process to make sure it's there if it becomes necessary?
The wire's cheap, the fiber's cheap, the labor's about the same, it's just maybe it's an extra couple of boxes or something that we just pull, but it's the same effort to pull really like 7 wires opposed to 5. And so really we just help to plan for that. I think there might be like locations to just consider around access points that might want to be hidden somewhere. More thought around like entrances for if someone does decide, sure, wish I would have more of a proper access control system, we can kind of run some future wires that are hidden near a jam and or like a side, like a laundry room door. Maybe someday someone might want that to be the primary access for their maid and people like that. So we could suggest that we could pre-wire for that. That cost is minimal, but just the wisdom that we have around what's possible based on everything that we've done, the price of adding that wire it's nominal. And I think it's way cheaper to then do that, to then wind up having to tear apart the house or have an unreliable wireless solution in place.
I'll just add quickly to that. I mean, to me, that actually could be the number one question that I answer when I do the tours of the home. And the way I position that, as I say, they see all these beautiful things, the cameras, the TV, the screen that drops down, the TV behind the mirror, the heated floors, you name it. And that's beautiful, and it's designed to look good, and it all works well. But why did you hire us? You hired us because we can tell you that the infrastructure that you need today and tomorrow to enable those solutions. And if you weren't aware of that now, before the insulation sheetrock goes on, then it most likely is too late. So this is really a unique opportunity through this for people to, and this is the comment you usually get is, either I'm glad you told me this, I don't necessarily need the mirror, that TV beyond the mirror now, but wiring for it makes a lot of sense. And then the other thing I always hear is, I wish somebody had told me about this, because now it's too late. I'm too far along. You know, that Kohler digital shower that you see in our showroom, that's certainly not for everybody, but you're not going to have that kind of hydrotherapy experience that Kohler's put together unless you plan for the wire to the controllers that are going in that shower. And again, maybe that's not something for today, but maybe it's something for tomorrow. And so I could say that our showcase home is a showcase of ideas for wire. So that then that's the least expensive part of the install, so why not put it in? And if we can demonstrate that we have the knowledge of all these subsystems and how they're wired, and the next integrator down the road does not, they feel more comfortable that they have future-proofed their home appropriately for the technology we're putting in.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The second related question would be, what efforts do you guys go through, both on the building side and the creation side, as building some of this future wiring? You know, in case 10 years down the road, they bring you back to install one of these devices, or the house sells, you know, how do you maintain that service relationship with the new owner that might not have all the background to what was done originally?
You know, documentation, it's so easy now, digital files, but also literally printing them, being certain that we have some legacy decal somewhere on a rack, refrigerator magnet. But you know, but just to say, reach out if you have any questions, and even too happy to support a dealer that comes in and we don't have that historical relationship with that new buyer that possibly bought a house that we originally did. That's fine. We got it. It's the client paid for it. It's happy to give the digital file. Right?
That digital documentation also is so critical and hard sometimes for individual integrators to do it. It's time consuming. It's a major effort. It's one of the benefits that we now enjoy being part of the Daisy family. And you'll see, John, you'll see sometime next year on the Daisy portal, there'll be a login and password for the client, for us, that will have all the items that are in their house, all the drawings, all the tech calls, everything that was related to that installation will be online, passwords, everything else. Because that's not only necessary for the current client, as you say, that's necessary for the future client, that's necessary for a transfer of ownership. So I think we fully recognize the critical nature of that for the ongoing health of that home for the people that are using it. And it's an undertaking to do that well. And I'll be honest, at Cyber Manor, 12 people couldn't do that very well. We were on to the next project. But we know as Daisy, that's imperative for people to enjoy these things over the long term.
I think that's one of the questions too, when you do interview or want a good integrator, ask about their service plan and how they service, because it's a game changer. And also in timing of their service. Some of our clients, they're about to have a graduation party in like 10 hours and the speakers aren't working or whatever it may be. I mean, it's like game time. They're not gonna have their party without that, and you don't want the call. You want the integrator to have a 1-800, 24-hour, yeah. It depends on whatever it is, and ask that. Do you have a 24-hour, call line? Many times, they have a service where it's almost like calling the doctor, and they'll call them, beep them, and you go. But there's plans where they should be able to roll a truck that day if they have a good service plan.
Last question. Sorry to hog the microphone, but I'm sure all of that information helps with the home resale value. A lot of the sexy stuff is cool if you want it, but how does that translate into future, value on resale? So working with an institutional grade integrator that has this information and can actually approach that new buyer, I'm sure is extremely valuable.
I like that. That's a good one.
It was a great,
good idea.
You talk about learning things at this show. One of the panel sessions that I sat in, I think the company Centric, I'm pronouncing that right, they basically were advocating, they're more on the enterprise commercial side and coming here for the first time in residential. You take a picture of the barcode on any piece of technology, the label, the barcode, the manufacturer. They've created a database, so once that picture's created, the full database of the product, a PDF of the manual, all the information related to that product is stored online, and you can store it online by room. And now suddenly you have online this vision of every piece of hardware that we install as part of the portal that the end user has. So the technology, the software, and the ingenuity is all here. Now it's just a matter of assembling it so that we create, kind of solutions you're talking about.
Thanks.
Great. Well, I appreciate everyone attending today. I hope it's been a great summit for you. I've enjoyed participating in the Lux tracks, and so I hope you're all gained something or took a little bit of information that's going to provide value when you get back and start building. So thank you again, Kevin, Matt. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, everybody. And we'll have questions later if we didn't get to ask them today. So thank you.
Thank you.